Welcome to episode 3 of the Tradpro podcast. I'm Katie, your host, and I just wanted to open today with a welcome and celebrate anybody who's listening who is an expert in the domestic arts and who loves to nurture and has that empathy muscle exercised and put to good use in the community. So, and you're also a fighter for human rights, so there's the traditional nurturing capacity, and then there's also that progressive, the Tradpro, the progressive values that keep us advocating for human rights and social justice causes. So those two things together, welcome. And if you haven't put it together yet, you're not the only one. There are a lot of questions about this whole Tradpro concept, and I get it. That's kind of the point, is that traditional does not need to mean conservative, because there's a whole trad-con movement, traditional conservative. So, but it doesn't have to be traditional conservative. It can just be traditional. It could be traditional moderate, it could be traditional progressive. Those of us who are mothering, pleasing our partners, you might call us the bottom in terms of a relationship, the more submissive partner. I think that we are just under celebrated, and especially in the progressive community. So that's why I started this podcast, and I apologize for my voice today. I've been talking a lot and it's kind of breaking up a little bit, so sorry for that. But I just watched the Ruby and Jodi documentary, and it kind of triggered something that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. So, and one of the reasons why I started the podcast. So anyway, if you haven't seen it, it's on Discovery Plus, I believe. You can get it through Prime. Probably could get it through other platforms, but Ruby and Jodi, Ruby Franke is the momfluencer, the Mormon trad family influencer, basically. And Jodi Hildebrandt ultimately becomes her mentor and is kind of the mastermind, if you will, behind some of the things that go down in terms of just devastation and even abuse. So that particular documentary, it's a Mormon mom trad influencer, Ruby Franke, and it reminded me that there's this just overwhelming narrative, and it's become an assumption and a stereotype that somehow traditional family values have to be connected with Christianity. And if you're a Christian, if you're a good Christian woman, good Christian wife, etc., all these kind of little sound bites align with traditional and conservative. And so you have to be like both if you are religious. Well, I don't think that's true. And in fact, I know it's not true because my study of history goes before Christianity. There's this huge timeline here, okay? This is 300,000 years that human beings, Homo sapiens, with the same brain size as us today. Now, I might mention they were a little bigger than we are because the human overall has been shrinking in those 300,000 years, but nonetheless, so 300,000 years, go, a third of that, 200,000, 100,000, 50,000, 20,000. We're getting into the teeny little clip of 2,000 years ago, and when we're talking about Christian values, okay? 2025, that's 2025. We have this before the Common Era and after the Common Era, or before Christ and onto Dam. So it's kind of like that's what starts 1 through 2025 is before and after Christ. So before that is all this history. And for all that history, guess what was happening? Trad families, trad wives, traditional people filling the role of caretaker, processing food, taking care of not just their own family per se, but also like in a community sense, taking care of each other as nurturers, taking care of the larger community needs as a whole, as a group. So I think that is super important to make note of, because for this much time, it wasn't religion or Christianity in particular that was creating the traditional family value scenario. One of the big differences in this little tiny 2K blip over here is that during Christianity and, you know, in that kind of, and I would say Islam and Christianity, some of the male-dominated religions that are known for the patriarchal perspective. In that little time period, women have been devalued within the context of traditional religious conservative family and roles. And I think that that is an important distinction, because not only do you not have to be religious to be a traditional wife, woman, caretaker, nurturer, domestic person, or advocate for human rights, but you also, you don't have to be religious, you don't have to be Christian, and you can have progressive values. And I think that that's just something that we need to come to terms with. It's not being said, there's not a narrative out there, so a lot of people are going to say, oh no, you can't do this, this is not a thing. It's not a thing, but it should be a thing. That's my point. So back to this documentary, back to the Ruby and Jodi situation. One of the things that really troubled me with this, and that brought back a lot of memories, very painful memories, is the idea of deconstruction of self and deconstruction of reality. That is something psychologically that is very difficult for a child to comprehend or deal with, because children have imaginations, and you can kind of create the idea of what is real and what isn't real for the kid. So the ways in which the kiddos in this documentary were deconstructed, not only were they malnourished and abused ultimately, but, you know, told like, you can't trust your instincts, you can't trust your own judgment, you can't trust you are bad. And basically, if something goes wrong, it's your fault. And since it's your fault, you deserve whatever punishment the person in authority wants to give you. So that is the exact thing that leads to this abuse and oppression connection with traditional roles. And I think that, you know, again, it doesn't have to be religious, it doesn't have to be oppressive and abusive, but once you start creating this idea of, you know, the people who are, whether kids or women, have to undo their, like, unravel their mindset and, you know, come to terms with the fact that they are the ones to blame for everything. And, you know, if something goes wrong, it's their fault, and they then need to be punished, whether that is through physical violence, deprivation of food, whatever the means, sexual abuse. There are so many things that happen in the name of God when it comes to abusive behavior and oppressive behavior. I mean, I don't even mention society, right? Because all of the colonial era, chattel slavery, these things were within the framework of religion. These things were actually justified in the minds of people manufacturing the narrative, justified under God. And the people who were being oppressed in this documentary, it's the kids, but a lot of times it's women and kids within this narrative. The people who are being oppressed deserved it. And in fact, that was pretty much their role. Their lot in life was to take the punishment. And that was a form of penance for their heathen ways. It was a form of penance for sin, for, you know, a lot of times as a kid, I didn't even really know what I did wrong. I mean, it was kind of like racking your brain trying to find something to repent for, because you're being told that you are wrong and you are sinful and you need to, you know, you need punishment. You have to be punished, and you're just kind of like so confused because you're like, but what did I do that was wrong? I mean, I was an overachiever at trying to be a perfectionist, like really tried hard to please everybody and do everything right. And still I was getting punished, and I was just like scared of going to hell. I was scared of punishment. It was very psychologically kind of mind-bending to inflict punishment on yourself, to doubt your own mind, to only believe people who are in power over you and then are punishing you. So yeah, that was really triggering in that documentary. It just reminded me again that we don't have to be conservative to be traditional. We don't have to be religious to be traditional. And in fact, you can have the dominant partner be very loving and amazing and supportive and protecting and providing, and the non-dominant or submissive partner be very loving and supportive and nurturing and caring. Those things can happen at the same time. One person doesn't, the dominant person doesn't have to punish, oppress, abuse. That should not be the narrative. I don't think that that's the case in every traditional family, obviously, or I wouldn't be Tradpro. But I do think it's more often than not the cases that we hear about that result in crime are typically abuse cases that stemmed from some form of leveraging this traditional higher, lower, dominant, submissive role situation into God, has sanctioned the person who is maybe the dominant partner to punish, oppress, abuse the non-dominant partner. And I think that that's just complete BS. I think it's just human beings being opportunists and evil and wanting to find a reason to justify their behavior. And, a lot of times, I feel like sometimes these people are sadists. They enjoy the pain that they inflict on people. And yeah, they need to be locked up. They need to be punished. Not the people that they're punishing are typically actually the people who are innocent and not deserving of punishment. So the reason why the idea of deconstructing the self is not Tradpro, even though that might be TradCon or it might be within a religious perspective of traditional values or whatever, somebody's version of it. The reason why it's not traditional progressive Tradpro is because we want to empower the individual. This is based on choice. Nobody's forcing us to be, deferring to our partner. Nobody's forcing us to pour our lives into our children. We're doing this because that's what makes us happy. That's what brings fulfillment. And so, to deconstruct the self and to eliminate yourself essentially and just become like a robot or servant, in terms of oppression, repression, suppression, depression, to the person that's in charge, that's not what Tradpro is about. That kind of is what sometimes happens under the trad model when the person in power takes advantage and decides to leverage God and everything to, just exploit the person that is with them. That's not okay. I know that I associate that with religion just because that happened to me as a kid under the umbrella of religion. But I know that there are people in the church and there are people that are faith-based that don't believe in oppressive, patriarchal, repressive, depressive, suppressive forms of traditional roles in the family. They believe in loving submission and loving dominance or deferring to a partner under God and leading a partner under God, etc. So I know that can happen in a healthy way under religion, but it doesn't have to operate through religion. Doesn't have to be the inspiration for it, is my point. It can literally just spring from within us. And, just out of a personality trait or us just finding our way and discovering that, pouring myself into my children and deferring to my partner actually make me happy. And I shouldn't be forced to perform modern feminism just for the sake of proving that I'm progressive politically. It doesn't have to be that way. We can have stable, traditional household units, unmarried women, married women, but when with a partner, deferring, when with children, they come first, we're pouring our lives into them. It's give and take, it's teamwork. And I think teamwork makes sense. I think performing modern feminism can be exhausting because literally you have to do everything. And you have nobody else doing any other roles. But if that's what you want to do, or you can do that and find a beta partner, somebody who is, more of the submissive role. So you could have a house husband or whatever. But somebody's going to be doing the domestic stuff and somebody's going to be doing, either you're going to split everything up 50-50 and every other day do every other thing, or you're just going to slot into what works for you on a repeat basis and what you're good at and what makes you happy. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of bring that up from that documentary that, not that everybody has to go watch the Ruby and Jodi documentary, but the Duggars, like we've seen so many of these trad family vlogging scenarios. They're not all Mormon, some of them are, but some are Christian, some are whatever, religious, faith-based family, and they're usually white and usually rural and usually end up in, like the ones that we see on TV, end up in a bunch of mayhem and abuse. And so I think that we just need to acknowledge that that is not the model for traditional families. Traditional families can be privately engaged with each other. We don't have to vlog every detail of our lives on a YouTube channel. We can vlog it if we want to, if you can still keep harmony and, respect for each other and everything going on in the family. Vlogging, I've done vlogging before. There's just I feel like we need more grace for each other. We need more respect. We need more listening, more thinking, and less just repeating and reacting. And I think if we did that, we would probably be able to have the freedom to question a lot of stereotypes and boxes that people make for things, not just TradCon, but other things too in the world. So yeah, all right. I'll see you next time. I'm going to try and do an episode every week, so stay tuned. I'll drop little shorts in here, here and there. So I dropped a short today as well about a news topic. So just stay looped in, and enjoy your day, enjoy your week. Show those you love some support. Check in with yourself if you're happy and feeling fulfilled in your relationship. Have you asked for the support that you need to fulfill your role from your partner? It's give and take. It goes both ways as far as fulfilling those roles and making them blend and work. And it's a very unique family by family basis because we have so much information from these 300,000 years of human history, and then the last 10 years of technology and social media, just saturation or oversaturation. So there's so much to think about. You can't do it all, but find that fulfillment, find that happy place, and support those you love. And I'll see you next time.